What's going on? Jordan Crawford at Scout here. Today, we're looking at our blog post of the ultimate guide to postcard marketing. I'm gonna take you through absolutely everything. This video is gonna give you just sort of a hint of that content, but I'm gonna walk you through everything that you need to know if direct mail is right for you, what type of direct mail to do, how you should think about design, lists, printers, etc., everything. Stay tuned. Great, let's get into it. So first, you want to know if direct mail is even right for you. I have tons of people that come to us and are like, hey, I'm just starting my company. I don't really know the messaging. I don't really know my customers. I can't find them online. I want to do direct mail. No, I turn those folks away. You need to know what is your brand about? Who are you targeting? What messaging works? And the best way to do that really is to try online channels first that just turn over faster, or even better, talk to your customers, get on the phone, call people. So you need to be at a brand maturity to make sure direct mail is right for you. That means you probably already set up Facebook and Google ads. You're already having phone conversations with your customers. You know what resonates with them. You've got a good idea about what things you can say on the phone to close them. You really understand a ton about your customers. Great. So let's assume that that's true for you, that you know your customers, you know who they are. Now, there's another question, is like, what type of direct mail should you do? There's a billion options. You can send letters, you can send parcels. I know someone in the B2B space that sent tacos. They sent tacos. I guess that's not technically direct mail, but I love tacos. And it actually converted well for them. Cold tacos, so to speak. So you can even send, for one of our customers, we looked into sending physical fabric. They were selling jeans, All Day Denim was their name. And so it's like, maybe actually you want to convince someone by showing them what your product is like. So I think that the way I like to think about this is there's some types of direct mail that may be appropriate for your brand. So letters are good. For example, if you have PII, personally identifiable information, some particular verticals require letters so that you can actually hide that information. Scout chose postcards specifically because we can focus on the messaging and the personalization. That's what we're exceptionally good at. So you want to think about your different options there and really what is your message and what value can you bring to your customers by selecting the right type of direct mail. Again, Scout believes in postcards for a ton of use cases because you don't have to open the piece of direct mail, and you can personalize it for the customer. And so we've just found with visuals and text and things like custom maps that we're able to do postcards exceptionally well. So once you have an understanding, you know your customers, you are very clear about that. You've picked a type of direct mail that is that's right for you. Now there's another sort of component here, which is thinking about something called every door direct mail or purchasing a list. The nice thing about this every door direct mail, or EDDM, is that you can blanket postcards to a bunch of different areas. They're called carrier routes. So think of a zip code and then much smaller, that's a carrier route. And you can do it for way cheaper than if you're buying a list, you're paying for postage, etc., and you're paying for the personalization of a particular piece of mail. So EDM is much lower, but a lot less targeted. You can do things like census targeting. So for example, you can say, I want to target areas across the country that generally skew younger, that generally skew, in some cases, like have more density of animals if you're targeting people with pets, and have lower home median values, right? So you can do that with EDM, but these are just sort of averages for these particular carrier routes. So the rule of thumb that I like to tell my clients is, if you can't rule out 2/3 of the folks in an area, you shouldn't do EDDM. So for example, a service like Uber or Lyft might actually be really good for EDDM because a lot of people can use it on the consumer end. Now, if you were targeting drivers, that's something where I would buy a list or think about how you can really restrict the people that you're targeting, because not everyone has the flexibility to be an Uber driver, or maybe not, they don't want to be. So EDDM or targeted list, right? The other thing is that you can do a ton with personalization. So if I've got a lot of really great data to bear, even if the cost is much better for EDDM, I would focus on a personalized mailer because you can bring that data to light. We're working with a customer that has tons of data about their particular market, and they have the lock on this data. They know the market so well. They can tell you what the average price of an item is. They can tell you what it's going for right now at the market, different verticals, and what the different item prices are going for in the live market. Super, super, super useful data, right? So that's something where I'm going to recommend a highly personalized mailer because you're delivering tons of value to that customer. So something you want to think of. Now let's talk about the planning of your campaign. Now there's a handful of things you want to keep in mind when you're planning your postcard campaign. You definitely want to understand your data, which we talked a little bit about. What data do you have on customers? What data can you get about customers? There's a bunch of different list resources. You can check out the blog post article for some information there. So if you have data from, like, let's say churned users that you want to get back, you can use things like their name, unique images of the products they bought, the time that they bought it, their rating text, right? Remind them of your brand and why they engaged with you in the first place to win them back. If you're sending a cold email cold email. If you're sending a direct mail to new prospects, there's tons of public data that's available. You can get things like square footage. Scout will actually use nearby customers. So I can say, hey, Jordan, you should use our product. Here are all the people around us that have used you. So like in real estate, for example, it's like, here are all the homes around you that I've sold. Super powerful social proof. So really something to keep in mind here. Also, you're definitely going to think about measurement of your direct mail campaign. I'm going to really get into that here. There's more strategies in the blog post article, but things to keep in mind, people don't go to slashes. So bob.com/13587, people don't do that. So what we will recommend to our customers is that they register a unique domain. So instead of apple.com, biteanapple.com, you might register if you were selling farm, like eating apples versus computers. So the nice thing about that is that you have 100% attribution. People will type in that URL much more likely they're going to type in a slash, and you've got a better sense of attribution. There are other things that you can do. Scout offers a pixel you can put on your website to either do outbound targeting or measurement, right? So we can identify some portion of unique homes that are visiting your site. So I can say, hey, Jordan, I can tell you that this home visited your site for attribution. Other things that you can do, so Scout does unique QR codes, which are supported natively on the cameras of iPhone and Android phones. So you can just point your camera at that content, see the link, and those QR codes are generated uniquely for every single postcard. So I can tell you who came top of funnel. We can do things like tracking phone numbers. So something that's really great, you can use a service like CallRail or Twilio. There's a bunch of those services out there to take a phone number that you already have and put a tracking number in front of it. And you can do cool things like include the local area code so that people are much more likely to call because it feels much more personal and much more local. So then you can track who's calling in and grab their caller ID. So that's really important. There's a couple of other tracking strategies that you can use that we'll go into in the blog post. So take a look at that. Tracking is really, really important. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about the design of the postcard. So many people get this wrong. So one of the things that you want to think about in your design is what benefit do you provide to the customer? And these are the 4 U's of great copywriting. Your headline should be unique, ultra specific, urgent, and useful. So you really have to hit all those 4 things in a great headline. David Ogilvy has some amazingly good copy that you can steal. He was a fantastic ad agency guy. So a lot of startups these days are writing really silly copy that doesn't really do any of those things. It doesn't really talk about their product. It's more kind of generic brand awareness. Don't do that in a postcard. You have 2 to 3 seconds for people to read the postcard and either think this is trash or this is not. I want to make a quick pivot and talk about the number of postcards you should send if you're sending a cold campaign. So you definitely want to send at least 3 postcards. It's better to send 100 people 3 postcards than 300 people a single postcard. The way that people sort of react to mail is they'll take mail, maybe they'll throw the first one away. The second one, they'll be like, where have I seen this before? I have to act on that later. And by the third one, they sort of know your brand. They've got a good brand impression, and then they'll take action. So definitely hit people multiple times over the course of the month. I'll lay out some strategies in the blog post about how to think about that structure, but that's super important. Jumping back to design. So you've got a really good headline, a solid image. You want to have an offer. Now, this doesn't have to be free product. Postmates does a really, really good job at saying, here's $100 in free delivery credit. Now, no one is going to get that's like $500 or $1,000 worth of food, because the delivery credit is a very small piece of that order. So they only end up spending about 15 bucks on that $100 offer. You totally can do something unique like that. Important is you must put an expiration date on that offer, right? It has to expire to get people to act, to add urgency. Unlike digital, where you spend $1 on Facebook and 10 seconds later you have a click and you know if it's converted or not, people don't act that way with direct mail. They take it and they put it on their desk. They say, I'll do this to do later. I actually have a lot of postcards that I have to get through for reviews here for the Scout channel. So kind of ironically, I've literally done the same thing that I'm talking about so that I can go and show you those examples. I've got a bunch of examples on the blog post that you can check out. But that's important, and it doesn't have to be a discount, or like a lot of my customers don't want to do discounts, they're premium products, but you need a clear call to action. Why should I do this now? And that's the question that you're going to have to answer. It's a little bit different for every product, but that needs to be really important. Let's talk about measurement. Right, we looked a little bit into the way that you measure, but when you're planning your direct mail campaign, you definitely want to have an understanding of like, what's your cost of customer acquisition, what's your lifetime value. The jargon here is CAC, CAC, and LTV, and these are really important things to keep in mind. Postcards convert at anywhere between a 0.1% to 3%. So if you back out into that math, we've got a calculator in the blog post, so you can sort of do that math on your own. But that's kind of a good way to see, like, is this a right channel for me? Generally, depending on the product, we'll tell some folks that direct mail isn't the right channel for them because their LTV, their lifetime value of the customer, is like below 100 bucks. $300 is sort of a safe range for a lifetime value, and anytime you get to 600 to 1,000 bucks or above, direct mail is absolutely a channel that you should have in your arsenal. But again, part of this is about cadence and brand building, so that you have to hit people multiple times, and it can take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to 6 months to see sort of a full attribution model of your postcard campaign. That's why it's important to set up these tracking mechanisms ahead of time and to have the discipline to go back and measure things, right? So we work with our clients to make sure that we embed that discipline in the contract. So whether that's getting access to Salesforce or their Shopify instance to be able to pull that report, building measurement strategies on the front end, things like QR codes, unique URLs, phone numbers, etc. Super, super, super important. So that's it here. We talked a little bit about the design, strategy, if direct mail is right for you, the types of direct mail, and I'm happy actually to answer a ton more questions. I publish videos semi-regularly here on the Scout channel, so feel free to subscribe and like. And there's like another thing you can do to turn on the bell at YouTube, but I don't know exactly how to instruct you how to do that, but it's down there somewhere, so you could turn on notifications. Again, I don't publish pretty often, and I will talk about other sort of marketing strategies, but I do definitely want to give you my information, so if you have any questions, I'm so happy to explore them with you. I'm the founder of Scout, and I'm really interested in helping people figure out if direct mail is right for them and build their strategy, which is why we're different than a lot of printers, etc. Because that's super important to me. And even if Scout's not a right fit for you, I'll refer you. If you're doing letters, which Scout definitely does not do and doesn't sort of involve itself in, I'm happy to find you a great place that you can send letters. I'll also help gut check you. So the purpose of this article is really to give you that information that you need so you can say, maybe postcards aren't right for me, and that's totally okay. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Check out more information in the blog post, which I'll put in the description below, and I hope to chat with you. I'm Jordan at sendwithscout.com. If you want to send me an email, I'd be happy to chat. Thanks. Bye.